Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Brown Car Guy and Buddies. And today I'm going to be talking to Partha all the way over in India, a good friend of mine. I knew him back in Dubai, but we've stayed in touch even though he left Dubai before I left to come back to the UK. But he has been my constant help, resource and guru, if you like, when it comes to building this actual channel. Yes, the one that you're watching me on right now. It's basically following his roadmap that I was able to grow the channel throughout this year, from the beginning of this year to just a couple of weeks ago when I reached that 1,000 subscriber milestone. So this is going to be invaluable. We're obviously going to talk about his car and his bike history, but particularly try to pick his brains when it comes to automotive digital media. So if you're starting out on YouTube and you want to get into this sort of stuff, I think this is going to be a really helpful conversation. So before we get into that, make sure that you are subscribing to youtube.com/brown car guy. Hey, I got to keep building those subs, right? Make sure you follow me on all the social media channels. Just search for my hashtag Brown Car Guy. You can see it there on my hat. And of course, subscribe to browncarguy.com. If you enjoy my content, then sponsor my content from less than £2.50 or $2.50 a month. You can do that on patreon.com/Shazad Sheikh. Hope to see you there. Meanwhile, let's get into this. Partha, man, how you doing? It's been ages. How long since we've seen each other? A good couple of years or
Uh,
more, right?
yeah, so it's been 2 years since I moved back, July 2018. So yeah, it's been 2 years, a little over that, because I think before that we met, I think only for the Lexus event where we drove the LS 300, I think if I'm not mistaken, or the IS 300,
Well, on the
the
track.
ISF on the track.
Yeah, that was the RC.
That was the RC. There you go.
Yeah. RC and RCF. Oh my goodness.
RC. I
Wow.
love
That was,
that was the last time we met.
my
Met.
goodness.
After
That was,
that, we've spoken a few different times. But yeah.
yeah, that was some time ago. That was awesome. But what a great day that was, wasn't it?
Oh my God. That orange RCF was just, oh my God, just something else on the track. To be able to go those speeds untethered, it was just amazing.
So just
I
to
had a
those people that
hoot
are
and a half.
watching, they're like, "What the heck are these guys talking about?" So just to fill everybody in, this was a unique activation that actually we did at Motoring Middle East, where I was before, where we took over one of the launch days for Lexus. Lexus was launching the RC and RCF in the UAE, and we only had our people, our readers, our fans, our friends, people like that. They all came along. They all got a hat similar color to that one, but with a different logo on it, and you all got to go around the track and enjoy the RC and the RCF. Then that was awesome.
That was amazing, seriously. Yeah, that was just brilliant. One of my best days out. I had a lot of fun.
I'm
And I
so
still
glad
have
to
that
hear.
hat. It's sitting in Dubai somewhere. I have to go pick it up. It's
Oh
there,
my
but
goodness. I need to send you one of these actually, don't you? I'll do that soon. But I need to get some more
so
made.
how's yeah, so I left July 2018. I think you left shortly after. So I think
So that
that was the
so
kind of
that
timeline
so that Lexus was when we last met, but I was
when
also
we
trying to
met. Yeah.
rack, yeah, when we last met. So I was also trying to rack my brains to try and remember when was it that we first met. Although we were probably in touch through either was it online or emails or the radio show? What was it?
I think it was all of the above, because I was one of the I remember I was one of the first followers for MME when it started out. I think I was introduced to you more because of Imtishan, because I knew him, and I think that's probably how we met. But then I kind of interacted with MME more aggressively because it was something that was a product of absolute passion, and that's
Yeah.
what I loved so much about the fact that when I spoke to you, I didn't see a person who was making a business. I saw a person who was just having fun doing what they were talking about, cars and basically something that kind of appealed to a lot of the people that not so many people were doing in the
Yeah.
market at that time. And I think it made a lot of sense. And I would follow you guys on the radio show. I even dialed in a couple of times to talk
Yeah.
about my Renault,
The Renault,
if I
that's
remember
right. That's
correctly,
right. Yeah.
my Renault Logan.
The Renault Logan, exactly. Yeah. We did have some
So
correspondence about that as well, and that was a pretty good purchase, wasn't it? You did quite well out of that.
I ran that car for 170,000 kilometers in 6 years. It was not a shoddy. It really did well. It's a good workhorse. It's a good commuter, and it's also one of the cars that didn't get a lot of visibility in the market. And I was very happy that, you know. But you did cover a lot of that space. It's not
Yeah.
like you just did high-end cars or performance cars and stuff like that. You covered cars from every spectrum. And that was one of the reasons that I kept following you guys more than I would the others.
Mhm.
And of course, your content was hilarious. I mean, you did a lot of fun YouTube videos. You used to do a lot of cool stuff. Your conversations with James Microwave were actually a lot, very intense sometimes, and very, very, very. It kept me enraptured quite easily. I mean, it wasn't something that I had to force myself to listen to. It just happened, and it was a lot of fun for me to tune in. And yeah, I think we met a few times. I think at a couple of shows. You met my son. We did the Dubai
Yes.
Auto Show, I think.
Yeah.
And we did you were actually hosting the open stage there, and
Yeah,
we
Ignition
interacted, and
live
it was a
stage
lot of
shows.
fun.
Yeah. No, it's good.
Yeah, so
I'm glad you brought that up. It's like the radio stuff was amazing. We did that for 6 years, and we got a lot of great feedback on it. And it's exactly what you said. People would say to us, it's like they said, it's not like we were listening to a radio show. It's like we've just stumbled into a conversation between car guys, and it's just hilarious. And I think that's
yeah,
what people really enjoyed about it.
absolutely. So that was essentially one of the things that caught my attention. Um, Most people who know me as more of a motorcycle guy, but I'm actually a petrol head all around. As in,
Uh-huh.
I do cars.
Well, you didn't have
I
a
mean,
bike in the UAE, did you?
no, because
Uh-huh.
bloody motorcycle licenses are expensive to get. I spent 7,000 dirhams getting my car license, and I'm
Uh-huh.
like, sod that shit. I'm not getting anything else outside of this.
Yeah.
As long as I get from A to B, that's fine. I did sneak in a couple of motorcycle rides now and again, but
Uh-huh.
that's about it. Just the odd test rides or stuff like that. But
So just
I
to
didn't
fill
do
people
much
in,
riding.
so like we were lucky gits because we go over with a British license and it's literally we go down
Hmm.
in an hour we can get it switched for a UAE one, so that's not a problem. So, but what did you have to go through then to get a driving license in the UAE? And how long had you been
Uh,
driving before that?
so I've been driving for about 14 years before I got into the UAE. So it shaved off a few trainings for me. I didn't have to do 40, I had to do 20, and I passed in the first go. But it's still 6,800 dirhams all found, and it's still a damn lot of money to get put into a driver's license. But guess what? That's the only way you can get around unless you want to depend on the very sparse public network system, the public transport system that they have.
No, indeed.
Um,
But just stick with that for a minute because I want to ask you because like if I have to do that again, I'd be quite indignant about it. How does it feel when you go, no, sorry, you have to take a driving lesson. You have to take your driving lessons and driving test all over again?
No, it's actually a good thing, and I think everybody needs to do that. And they're very
Ah,
strict about who they give the
ah,
licenses to. So a lot of times, the people from the US who they take it for granted that
yeah,
they've got a driver's license, when they come in here, well, not drive here, drive in the UAE. They drive like assholes, like they own the road, because
yeah,
guess what? They got their license, it just passed over, and they
mm,
just kind of transferred in. They need to be tested. So
yeah,
even before you get the license, they need to be tested to make sure that they're actually roadworthy.
yeah,
Uh, and that should have been the case all around. But no, they have these very specific segments or countries of origin that they kind of test
yeah,
to or get them to do. Like, because, for example, if I drive in India, I could drive in UK very simple because it's the same side of the road, similar
yeah,
rules, all of
yeah,
that fun stuff. But that's not the case. The license doesn't transfer over because
mm,
guess what? The mentality of people driving in India is
yeah,
far different from
mhm,
what would happen if driving in that. So it was a necessary step, and I knew exactly why they were doing it. And they did shave off those any number of lessons
yeah.
because they knew that I was not a fresh driver, and actually I did fairly well, so I was okay.
So that's
Um,
interesting. I like your approach to that. I like your thinking behind that. So tell us a little bit about what it takes to get a driving license in India then.
Nothing, a few thousand rupees. You just go in. My brother doesn't know how to drive, and he's got a driving license, and that's how easy it is to get a driving. I'm not even joking. I am not even joking. You have to drive half a meter, not half a meter, 500, half a kilometer, 500 meters.
Yeah, half a meter would be like.
Just, yeah, don't even start. So he had a motorcycle and a car license when he was here in India. The car stuff was all right because he had to drive half a kilometer and he kind of survived and it was all right. He didn't steer anywhere. He was in first and second gear at best, and that's about it. So he did okay because I taught him how to do that. The motorcycle one is an actually fun story because he got onto, and these are ungeared motorcycles that they were testing on, all right? So he got onto the motorcycle and he actually popped a wheelie in front of the inspector. And the inspector wasn't looking, so he got away with it and he got that motorcycle license as well. It's bloody hilarious. So it's a sham. It's an
Right.
honest sham. That's what it is.
So why is it?
So in India, the testing's not as aggressive. So literally anybody with a degree and the right paperwork and enough money can go in and get a motorcycle or a car license.
Do you think that needs to change in India, or do you think the system works fine?
So here's the thing: anybody with not the right kind of attitude or the right kind of training could well adapt, depending upon their emotional or the mental constituency. But that changes every time, right?
Yeah.
So like today you're in a good mood, so you'll probably drive well, but tomorrow you're not.
Yeah.
It's not something that's kind of trained into you to kind of adapt to road systems or the way things are. Like for example, when it rains, they drive like idiots. When there's fog, they have their hazard lights. They go into a tunnel, they have their hazard lights on. There's no there's no headlight. People on the motorcycles don't have helmets, no proper gear. There's no what do you say, discipline as such. That comes from training. That comes from knowing what to do at what time. It would obviously reduce a lot of accidents. So that doesn't exist. So yes, they definitely need to beef that up in a lot of ways. They need to be stricter. Does it need to be as strict as the UAE? Maybe. Does it have to be as expensive as the UAE? No.
So
make it affordable.
If you were to describe to me the key difference in driving in the UAE and driving in India, and you're in Mumbai, aren't you? So you're in
that is correct.
You're in like the capital city where I can imagine it
not
must
capital.
No, sorry, the main. Let's say the business capital. Let's say that, New Delhi is the political capital, but it's like Dubai is like the business capital of the UAE, but actually Abu Dhabi is the capital, right? So
hey,
that's
don't
what
let anybody from Abu Dhabi hear you say that.
Yeah, well, now nobody listens to this; it'll be fine. So, but I mean, in the sense that is it's a thriving, busy, congested city. What is it like to drive around there?
Oh my. It's a test of your patience, your skill. Did I mention patience?
Yeah, once or twice.
Yeah, so it's a test of all of that. I mean, your grit, your determination to actually want to get to the other side or just drive off the next curb to kind of, it's crazy because there's zero respect. And I was actually having a chat with my motorcycle. So I'm a part of a couple of motorcycle groups here in India. And one of those guys actually shared an image of it. Doesn't matter what you ride, as long as you give them the respect, that's fine. Share that, have that respect for people. And it got me thinking that most drivers, riders, anybody with that heavy motor, that engine in their control, have zero respect for the people around them. They're always in a damn hurry. They think that they're in control. There's zero defensive ability in about 70% of the riders or drivers out there, which means that they're not aware of what's happening. And do you remember we had this conversation on my podcast about how the best driving is a defensive driving, and the only way to kind of make a person more safe is to have a steel spike in the center of the steering wheel pointed straight at the nose.
Yeah. Because immediately you're going to be more careful. You're immediately going to be more careful. Yeah.
Well, exactly. That's the point, and that's what lacks right now.
Into this craziness, you go on there on a bike in two wheels. Surely that must be even more terrifying.
So here's the thing. In India and countries like India, a motorcycle is more a commute rather than a luxury, compared to other countries where a motorcycle is more of a luxury and it's something that you use to go out of town rather than go into town. And you use a car to stay within the city. But guess what? Our cities are small and shite compared to the larger cities around the world, in the sense that the roads are narrower, the parking's mismanaged, buildings, there's no structure, there's no order in the way the roads are organized, there's no system basically. So in that case, having a motorcycle makes a lot more sense for me to talk about within the city. I can shave off half an hour compared to a car drive into the city on a peak traffic day, because I can just weave through. I can split lanes. It's easier for me on a motorcycle, and that's acceptable in India. I think it's not acceptable in a lot of countries, but in
Yeah.
India it's fine because, and everybody does that. So I have a low-powered motorcycle. I say low-powered. It's a 200cc engine, but
Mm.
and that's actually one of the higher-end commuters in the city. But it's a low-powered motorcycle that just gets me through from A to B at a fairly quick nick. So I'm fine. Yeah.
So it's not just the only bike you have, right?
No, I'm planning my second one and third one right now. I was just researching it before I got on the
Oh,
phone call with
really?
you.
What are you getting?
So I'm
I
planning.
I
I'm
know
planning.
nothing about bikes, but let everybody know what you're getting though.
I'm planning a 650cc twin and 650cc twin.
Uh-huh.
Um, so it's going to be an adventure tourer because I'm planning to go around India on that motorcycle.
Oh, wow. That sounds like
Well,
a
I'm
bit of
actually
fun.
planning a tourer. I'm not so sure about the adventure portion of it. Depends on what the pocket can afford, because I need to do not just a motorcycle, but I need to do accessories around as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm doing a little bit of research to figure out what's a good pick at this point. But it's definitely
So
going to be a larger capacity engine. So yeah.
So talking of getting out and about, what's it like over there? Because with the COVID thing, I mean, what we're hearing is that things are getting worse, and the virus is the cases are increasing. So are you under a lockdown? What's going on at the moment?
Borders have opened up. People can travel between the states, absolutely no problem. So things, yeah, people just don't care anymore.
All right.
They are taking the necessary precautions as in each individual.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say about, again, it's a 70-30 rule. I mean, 70% of the people are wearing the mask. Out of those 70%, maybe another 70% are wearing it the way it's designed. The others have it as a fashion accessory.
Oh my goodness. Has it has it
Yeah,
has it has it become because I know it's a typical thing with us Asians, has it become like a status symbol? What kind of mask you have
that,
and how much it
that is
costs?
correct.
No way.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Oh man.
I am no, I'm not joking. So the other day I had gone to the vet because my pup was unwell, and there were people there that were wearing masks with Swarovski studs embedded in them. I'm not even making that shit up. It exists.
Oh man. And suddenly like
They live
I'm better
among us.
than you because my mask has crystals in it,
They live among us. They live among us.
That's hilarious. Well, talking of mask and stuff like that, isn't it something of a sideline that you could get into? Because didn't you start your career out in the garment industry?
Well, yes, I did. I have a family business, and it still exists. We
Uh-huh.
have a manufacturing unit here in India, which is why I stay outside the city, not in the city. So we do a fair bit of work in the t-shirts and well, ladies and children garments kind of
Uh-huh.
situation. So yeah, the family business did exist, but then I moved into marketing and PR quite quickly.
Right.
Um, Especially technology and automotive, which has always been my
Yeah.
passion. Is something that I loved. I am not trained in any of those fields, but then I have very quickly moved up in my learning through, well, experience, through
Uh-huh.
failure, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Failing
I worked
upwards,
with
I
the
think
likes
is
of
what you've done.
I did. So I worked with the
Well,
likes of Bosch. I've worked with the likes of Texas Instruments. I worked with the likes
wow.
of Honda Motors, Honda motorcycles, um, um,
And
Costco, which
is
basically
that something
hydraulics and stuff like
something
that.
that you were always interested in technology and gadgets and all of that sort of stuff?
Well, I've always been interested in engineering and technology in a lot of ways. I mean, that's something that's always, how things work, take things
Mm.
apart, figure out how, and I've always been that guy. I still do that. I mean, any new gadget that kind of comes apart, the first channel I visit is this channel called Jerry Rig Everything.
Mm.
Um, the guy takes apart the phone, he tests it for durability,
Mm.
sees things, how things work. It amazes me every time. I'm also a big fan of do-it-yourself repair videos
Mm.
because again, it gives you an idea as to the inner workings of how stuff works. Um, so I used to have motorcycles before. I have restored them by myself. Again, I obviously used a garage, and I went there and I got the right parts. But then I restored those engines by myself, and
All
it was a
right.
lot of fun. I had six motorcycles.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Three SDs, two Javas, and a Bullet. I think over 12 years ago, and I restored most of those engines. I didn't do the Bullet because I never got around to actually fixing it.
Uh-huh.
I was in the midst of fixing the two 350s, and again, I never really got myself around to fixing those. So yeah, uh, point is that two-stroke engines was something that I could take apart and put together, and I've done that many times. And
Interesting.
I had a lot of fun doing that.
So tell me, how you got into marketing and you were doing tech and stuff like that. So how did you get over to Dubai? What happened there?
Well, I have family there, and she's in PR. So I got an opportunity to work in consumer tech and in that area, and I got there. And well, one thing led to another, and I actually got into training engineers on how to work with technology and do smart stuff like working with augmented reality or building a road, driverless car, and how to work with smart technology. So it's been a pretty interesting journey at the time I was in Dubai.
So hang
But
on.
then
So
it
you were
got to
hang on a minute. You were looking at driverless cars and autonomous technology in Dubai whilst you were there. This was must have
I
been
used to
what,
teach people how to do
three
that.
years ago, 4 years ago. What?
That is correct. I used to teach people in how to do that. As in, I used to hold these workshops every week, and every week would be something different. And I remember there was a month where we were doing a focus on autonomous cars, how to build your own autonomous network of cars, not just one, but an entire network. So there were
Mm,
four cars that would speak to each other, and they would drive in around a map, have
mm.
object recognition and all of that stuff. So we did teach people how to do that.
Wow. What manufacturers were you working with when you were doing that sort of stuff?
No manufacturers. We bought
No.
RC cars, we pulled them
All
apart, and
right.
we basically were teaching them the
Ah,
concepts of how it works. We
right.
didn't teach them with any manufacturer. We just did it ourselves.
Interesting. So, what's your take on autonomous cars now? Because I'll give you my take first, and then you can either say yes, I'm right, or you can say you're a blithering idiot, whatever you want. But I don't believe that we're anywhere near autonomous cars. I think we're at least a decade, if not more, away from a fully autonomous car. Yes, we've got level 1, level 2, which is, driver assistance systems and stuff like that. But I think the nature of driving and the nature of our roads, not just in the UK, but in places like, for example, Mumbai, I don't think a computer can cope with that sort of driving at the moment. I don't think a computer
Yes.
can understand how driving works. I mean, as a human being, when you're driving, you're not just applying what you've learned, and you're not just applying, the highway code. What you're actually doing is you're interpreting the traffic situation around you, and you're trying to guesstimate and second guess that driver and understand he's just going to cut me up, he's going to go that way, she's going to park in the middle. So you're trying to all of these things that you do as a human. I don't think computers can yet do. Now you tell me,
No.
am I talking a load of nonsense?
No, and that's actually very interesting because I remember you told me about an incident that happened with the Volvo
Yeah,
where it actually second guessed something, and you
yeah,
had already clocked the guy.
yeah,
And this is something that kind of ties into my stance on autonomous vehicles as well. I have discussed this with two different individuals from two completely different backgrounds. One being you, where we spoke about driver
yeah.
assist technologies, and I actually spoke to another friend of mine who's based in Dubai about actual self-driving or autonomous vehicles.
Yeah.
In both cases, it's very clear that uh, driver assist technologies are not even close to ready to being put out into the public. But
Yeah.
guess what? They're here. We need to be able to know how to control them and work with them. That doesn't exist. There's no
Mm,
training. People aren't aware how to work with them. Um, Self-driving cars, we're not even close to ready because there are so many different factors involved. The city infrastructure needs to be able to adapt and evolve. I think a cold turkey switch is the only way that you can have self-driving networks working, which
mm.
means that you take everybody off the road, cancel everybody's licenses, and give everybody a self-driving car. Otherwise, you're not allowed on the road.
Yeah,
That's the only way that something
I
like that
don't
would
think
work,
that's
and I don't think
happening.
that's going to
Yeah,
happen either.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
A self-driving car is supposed to be able, the idea is that it should coexist with your not with your manually
yeah,
driven vehicles,
yeah,
which won't exist because guess what, humans are temperamental.
yeah, exactly.
Refer to the segment about 10 seconds before.
Yeah,
They're so selfish, they're so self-involved, it's
yeah,
so emotional.
yeah,
Your driving style today could be very different from the driving
yeah,
style you had yesterday, and that's
yeah,
never going to change.
yeah.
So to be able to adapt, to be able to identify, it needs to be able to profile the driver's current state of mind to be able to know what they're going to do, and that's
Mm,
not going to be easy. That's not going to happen at all.
yeah,
Forget
yeah,
about easy.
yeah.
Driver assistant able to kind of build with it. How was self-driving car? So 10 years I think is too early in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah, yeah,
It's
I
going to be
agree.
a lot longer than that because to make that kind of technology affordable, to make it to reach a point where everybody says, yes, I'm going to switch right now to a self-driving car because greater good. Not everybody's going to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
guess what? You and me, we're not going to be switching out from our
No.
our
No.
lovely manual cars because we
No.
love driving. That's not going
No,
to happen.
but also, like, if you look, so you take the European driving environment and you say, well, at least it's a little bit structured and organized, and you go, well, theoretically, maybe, like you said, if you had a network, you could maybe, like I said, in theory, it could work. But you take an environment like Mumbai or Karachi or even Dubai to an extent, there's no way that a car can cope with the variables of what happens on those roads. It's just not possible.
And there are too many variables for it to kind of build in. So it's not really feasible because the only way a driverless or an autonomous vehicle can survive is if they have control of all the variables, which guess what? It doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, you moved back to India now, and one of the things that we've been in touch a lot over the last year, actually, and that's because you've been helping me a lot on this actual channel that everybody's watching this video on, hopefully, on my YouTube channel. And it's one of the things that you now do, isn't it? It's if you moved into this sort of online arena and you help people like you've been helping me, right?
Well, yeah, I have been into digital marketing for close to about 10 plus years now. It is something that happened naturally as being a part of the marketing scene. I mean, every job I did, whether it was administrative training or whatever it was, I was also very, very hands-on with the digital marketing. So I have a lot of experience building YouTube channels, building content, understanding how they work. And I have an understanding of how they work. I don't like it, but I do know how it works. And I train
why
people.
don't you like it?
Because, well, that's a whole long story. And the short story is I find it too monotonous. I mean, it's too repetitive. It's trying to flog a dead horse at the end of the day, because a lot of people are using social media as a means to an end. I look at social media as one avenue, whereas a lot of people are using social media and they're using it so for their own gainful purpose, in the sense that you're using it as a platform to showcase yourself, and that's what social media has always been. But you talk about it to talk about something that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
But I'd say that about 70% of the people out there are not real on social media, and that's one of the things that I'm not really comfortable with. And I'm like, it's okay. I mean, I can create content, and I know how to game the algorithm, and I know how to fix it, but it's not something that I like doing. So
yeah, but so tell people what you do now and how they can get in touch with you and what you can do to help people. Because I'll just tell people what you've done for me. So, for example, at the beginning of this year I set up the Brown Carguy brand of even when I was still in Dubai, but got serious about it last year. But I didn't really focus on the YouTube until basically January this year. And in January, I think I had about 123 subscribers, something like that, And just a few weeks ago, I went past the 1,000 landmark on subscribers on my YouTube channel. And honestly, a large proportion of that, a lot of that is actually down to your advice and your guidance, and because you were constantly telling me what I should be doing, how I should be doing it. And then one of the things that you said to me, which probably helped more than anything else, was keep putting up content, keep doing stuff on a regular basis, So this is what you do. So how is it that you're able to do this, and how can people get to you and get your assistance, Mr. Online Guruji?
All right. So, well, first of all, you can visit my websites. I have two websites. One is parthans.com and one is saxintech.com. So as an individual, I am more of a consultant, mentor, and a digital marketing trainer. But at Saxintech, we provide sales enablement solutions for anybody who needs it. So anything to do with content or technology systems and how to deliver them. Both of those links I'll share with Shazad. He can put them into the description.
I'll put them in the description below.
Yeah. So that's essentially what I do. I mean, that's the short of it. Long version is basically I train people on digital marketing. I help people identify their weaknesses, try and identify things that they can do to improve their content. And more often than not, it's all about knowing the niche that you want to kind of work with and kind of building up on top of it. Obviously, persistence and repetition is important, but also understanding the audience and getting feedback from them is also very, very crucial. being able to kind of identify different topics to kind of not make it monotonous is very, very important. So all of these things, when I shared this with Shazad, stuff that he's done already, it makes me feel very happy that, you know, he's been able to reach the 1,000 mark so quickly, and it's something that, you know, I feel good about, and I'm happy to have helped you, my friend.
Thank you very much. But also, like, you know, to talk to people that might be watching this and maybe are just starting out or want to get into it. I mean, in the current environment, I mean, yeah, 10, 15 years ago, you wanted to open a website, you had a pretty good chance. You started a YouTube channel, you had a pretty good chance. Now it's really difficult, really daunting. And then that's, you know, on the one hand, you've got these huge websites that are already dominating the virtual space, if you like, or the digital space, if you like. And then on the other hand, you have these mysterious algorithms that apparently dictate everything that we do online. I mean, just how powerful and overseeing are these things, and how do we get around them?
So you don't get around them. You actually game them to kind of help in your direction. So the idea is that you build in your account for obviously building two things. One is obviously the content, but second thing is the audience. So you need to reach out to the audience very, very regularly, connect with them, reach out to them, get their feedback, and build content that actually feeds off of their feedback to make sure that you're reaching out to the right audience at the right time. What that does is, if more people are watching your content regularly, and if they hit that like, share, subscribe, the way people ask them, and because those are metrics that YouTube uses. Obviously, the views, they obviously know who's watching at what time, and they're able to kind of build an algorithm. But the like, share, the like and subscribe buttons, and the notification icons are basically levels of interaction of your subscribers with you. So the more number of people, and I'm fairly sure that 60% of the people who are actually watching your videos aren't actually subscribing. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's really going to help Shazad. Because what that does is it tells YouTube that you actually like Shazad's content, and that more people like you would actually appreciate Shazad's content. So YouTube's going to say, okay, this guy you like this video. And because you are watching 1, 2, 3, and Shazad is one of those 3, anybody who watches 1 and 2, I will put Shazad as the third option to them, you know, as a YouTube recommended video. And that's how discovery works. So that's the layman version of it. Obviously, there's a lot of technology.
Yeah, no, I understand. So every time we YouTubers and myself, we always say to people, make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe. It's like, that is really probably the most crucial thing that you can do if you like a content creator or somebody on YouTube.
Yes, it's the simplest way for you to show your gratitude for creating this content. So the more you like the content, obviously YouTube will let you know that, you know, even if you're not subscribed, by the way, you'll see that YouTube actually presents a lot of the content that you've watched. And if you watched it for a certain period, it will represent that content or show you content similar to what's been tagged, whether you're subscribed or not. The moment you subscribe, it obviously puts it into your newsfeed. The moment you like, it gives other creators an opportunity to be put into that flow for you. So for example, I discovered a channel that had about 70,000 subscribers in the US. She's a motorcyclist, and I followed her content primarily because I was looking at motorcycle camping trips, and she was one of the first people who went out motorcycle camping. She makes interesting content, but the point was that I discovered her because of the YouTube algorithm, because I liked a few different videos on motorcycle camping. And so therefore the option was presented to me. So it's very, very important to kind of, you know, go that direction.
So that's the technical side of it. Whilst I've got you here, so again, people that might be thinking about getting into YouTube, and let's just stick with YouTube. I know we could actually, I know you're expert in the other platforms as well, and we could talk about all of them, but then we would just run out the clock, and let's not do that. So let's stick to YouTube. So if somebody's starting out like today and they want to start creating on YouTube, not necessarily automotive, just anything, what would be like the 3 most crucial tips you would say to them?
Have a game plan. So know what content you want to push out there. Make sure that you've planned content for at least the next couple of weeks. Have a schedule and follow that schedule to the T. So if you're thinking of putting out content every 2 days, make sure you stick to that schedule so people know when to look out for your content. That's one of the things. But the second thing is that discipline will make sure that you put out content regularly. And that's going to help you in the future, obviously, in the long term. The second thing is, building an audience obviously starts with family and friends, because it's through family and friends that you're actually able to build a good amount of audience. So make sure you start doing that. Use social media. Make sure you shout about it. Use the hashtag. Use use all of those fun things on a lot of different platforms to make sure that you have the right kind of visibility, that you're actually pushing your content out through the different platforms to a much different audience, because discovery does happen. You just need to know how to position it on those different platforms. It's very useful. And I think that's one of the things that Shahzad has done really well. I just helped him kind of channel his content in a way that, you know, he could actually use that hashtag game on Instagram and on Facebook for him to get better discovery, which is what led to his increase in the YouTube subscribers as well. And the third thing, obviously, is so you have make sure that you are persistent. You're not going to see a lot of movement in the first month, 2-3 months. It's not going to be easy. So make sure you push past. You will see growth. You may hit 10,000 subscribers, and I hope that you do in the first 6 months, but that's not going to happen. I'm going to be honest with you. 9 out of 10 YouTube creators don't hit 10,000 for up to 2 years. So you need to make sure that you keep pushing, posting content regularly, building the channel, and actually getting there. So it will happen. Just be patient. So the first 1,000 is crucial. The second 1,000 will come very quickly. The first 10 will come much sooner than that. It's obviously an uphill battle. The graph is always going to be like that. More visibility you get, the graph always spikes better in that direction. So just be persistent. I think that those are the three things.
Great advice. And the other thing, of course, is don't expect to make money on YouTube. It's certainly not initially. You need to be in the millions, you know, before you can do that. However, because we are coming up against the clock now. However, you are a Patreon supporter of mine. And a lot of people are like, what is Patreon? How does it work? And how can it help content creators? So rather than from me, coming from you, can you just explain what is Patreon and why is it a good thing?
So a lot of YouTubers actually have something called memberships. And to be able to do memberships, they need to reach a certain stage of efficacy with their YouTube channel. A certain number of viewing hours, a certain amount of videos, a certain number of subscriber base. The best workaround to reaching that membership at a certain point is to start with Patreon and start with a small group of supporters who you can actually build up to be your super fans. So, you know, start having that support. To give them, you know, content that is not easily available, or kind of engage with them differently, kind of like how you're doing with me right now. And I thank you for that. It's a different story though. The point is that you build those value additions for the subscriber base because they're able to support you. So Patreon is just one of the ways, because YouTube does take a lot of money to make, in terms of, you know, the content that you create, the amount of time, effort, and the time and effort that you're putting into creating the content. You'd like to see some value come out of it. So to say that, you know, you're not doing this for money would obviously be an exercise in denial. So let's not fool ourselves. We are obviously here to kind of make money, but it's not going to be easy. Like Shahzad said, you know, it's an uphill battle to reach a certain stage where YouTube will pay you meaningful money. You need to reach a certain stage. So until you reach that stage, you still need to be able to run bills. So you need to kind of use something like a Patreon to help you build a subscriber base and create a platform where people can engage with you and actually support your channel outside of the membership concept.
That's awesome, man. That's great advice. So just finally, and by the way, thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon as well, and proving an inspiration to others. We also did a podcast together. So tell people about what your podcast and where they can find them.
So my podcast is called Engineering, Applied Sciences and Technology. As you may have heard a few minutes ago, I am nuts about engineering and technology. I just put applied sciences in there because then it becomes East. So my podcast is called the East Podcast. Shahzad incidentally was the first guest on my podcast. He supported me there, and I really do appreciate that 100%. It's been a great journey. We've done about 20 plus episodes. I've recorded 10 new episodes for season 2, and the season 2 should be out very soon.
Awesome.
What I do on that podcast is basically I take different engineering and technology concepts or different applied sciences as well. So we did an entire series on healthcare. And what I do is I kind of simplify it. So these are things that will affect you on a day-to-day basis, but you just didn't know, or you probably were wondering or curious about it. And I kind of get people on board to kind of talk about, you know, how these things work and how they affect you directly or indirectly.
That's awesome, man. Partha, it's been so great to catch up with you again. Our conversations will continue anyway, as they always do. But thanks so much for doing this. It's been absolutely fantastic. And we'll speak again very soon.
Thank you very much, Shahzad, for having me. And I do appreciate it. Guys, please subscribe, like, tell people about this podcast and this YouTube channel. I know I love you for that.
What he said. What he said. That's it. Great. Thank you, man. Well, I told you, didn't I, that you would get a lot of advice, information, guidance if you were looking to move into doing what I'm doing, which is creating automotive content for digital platforms, particularly when it comes to YouTube. So that was really good. Let me know what you thought of that conversation in the comments above, below, elsewhere, wherever you're watching this. Hopefully you're watching this on, of course, youtube.com/Brown Car Guy. That's where you should be watching it. And make sure you hit that like button, as you heard. That's really, really important. Also hit that notification bell icon so you don't miss any of these videos that I upload. Of course, so follow me also on social media. Just search for my hashtag Brown Car Guy on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And of course, subscribe to browncarguy.com. As you've just heard, if you enjoy my content, then you can sponsor me on patreon.com/Shazad Sheikh. And of course, big shout out to my past and present sponsors or patrons on there, including Muhammad Ali Ahmed over in UAE, of course Partha, as we've just discussed, in India, Tom Conway Gordon here in the UK, and Isaac over in America. You guys rock. Thanks so much for doing that. If you can join them, that would be great. If you can't, like I said, make sure you hit that like button, the share button, the comment button, all the rest of it. That's much appreciated. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you again soon in the next one.